be needing this anymore with the turbo kit because the exhaust manifolds are going to be different. Another thing is, keep your old hardware. You never know if you might lose something and you know it's similar. And then you just pop one of your old bolts or something in the same spot. Okay, and then down there, there's two 15s. You know, there's a stud popping out of the exhaust manifold there, and then under there. And once you get those popped out, all you gotta do is, I like to leave one more in the exhaust manifold so it doesn't fall out. But there is a stud back there sticking out on this head anyway. But after you get those out, then you can slide your exhaust manifold out. That's what it should look like when you pull it out, but there's usually a heat shield on here, but you know, the bolt broke off and I didn't really think it mattered. So then we can get the other one in there. And there you go. This one seems to fit good on this side. I was originally gonna put this one on this side, but this one fits a lot better. It clears all the coolant hoses and stuff. So, and then on this one, I cut that flange off that was on here with the O2 bung. I'm gonna make a piece of sheet metal go over this, cover it up. Then this one might need to get extended because the exhaust is a little bit further back, so we might run into this here, but we'll get it figured out. That's why I kind of wanted the tubular one over here anyway, so I can actually cut and weld and add on however much I want. With the cast iron one, can't really do that too much, so it's working out. Alright, now I'm going to work on getting this side off. Alright, got the factory exhaust out, and then I had to modify this tubular one to fit back down in there, because as you can see, it's really close to hitting. You know, you barely can't even get your finger in between that. There's a little bit of space. I'm probably gonna end up getting a hammer and banging that back a little bit more. Maybe even getting a blowgun to heat up that plastic and kind of push it away from that exhaust manifold. But you kind of have to heavily modify this. I had to shorten it 1/2 inch to the flange that connects it to the head. Then I had to cut off that one part where the factory exhaust, because this is a front wheel drive manifold, you have to cut that flange off the back. Then I had to, kind of looks like shit now, but once I finish weld it, it should be fine. I had to extend that out a lot to get it to fit. And then I made this as well out of that factory crossover tube. I had to extend it a little bit here, and this is in the area where the flange is going to go for the turbo. So I'm probably going to have to finish weld this in, and then I got to modify this a little bit more. But the little tip is, once you get to cutting this apart in making it work is grab your crossover pipe and cut it and kind of finagle it to kind of go straight in with your other one, with your other exhaust manifold. And then because there's going to be a little bit of an elbow here on that crossover tube, so you're going to want to kind of weld your extension on, and then this part you're going to cut off of your exhaust. It's got a little elbow too, so you're going to want to line everything up and then tack weld it in, just so you know you got a good fit on everything. So with that, I'll pull this exhaust manifold out and explain it a little bit further. This is what it looks like out of the car. I kind of had to use some of the bigger exhaust pipe that I have to kind of make a patch for this. It's not pretty right now, but I got to hammer it down a little bit more and just to get it to fit a little bit better. It's not pretty. My first time doing something like this, so I got some gaps to weld up and stuff. But there it is. And then another thing is, you got this little tube for the EGR, but you're not really gonna need that anymore because the EGR is on the driver's side and this manifold's on the passenger side. So eventually I'm gonna be making a block off plate to weld onto here and here, because don't really need that anymore. So there it is. And oh, another thing is I had to shorten this 1/2 inch just to get it to get a little bit closer to the motor, to give me a little more space on that AC box thing. So that's what it looks like. This is what it looks like all together. When I was talking about test fitting the pieces before you finish weld, all I did was I left this separate from this extension I had to make, along with this separate from, I also had to make an extension here. And you're gonna want to leave that loose so you can adjust it up and down, right, left, so these fit together properly and straight. Because if you don't get them fitting well, you're gonna have a pretty big exhaust leak on your hands. I had to clearance that plastic box back there. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but that exhaust manifold gets pretty close there, so I had to take a heat gun and melt the plastic back a little bit and push it in to have just a little more room there. This is all gonna get exhaust wraps, so it's gonna keep the heat down quite a bit in the engine bay. And then now I'm gonna start working on the turbo flange. That's gonna live around in here somewhere. I want the turbo to lay down as far as I can get it, so I can actually close the hood. So I'm gonna get to that. Alright, I kind of have the turbo just sitting on here, so you know everything's gonna fit. Looks pretty good. I might need to go a little bit lower with it, but we're not like over the throttle body. So I think the hood might close with it like this, but I'm gonna go ahead and take more out of it because I'm worried about, you know, the exhaust being too close to that throttle body. So I'm gonna make some changes. That's how it looks. Alright, I got this I got the flange cut down. I don't know, I probably took another 1/2 inch or so out of it, so that brought us down even farther. So I like the way that's sitting. Obviously it's going to be a little bit more back from the radiator, but looks good. And another thing to make sure of is that you make sure that you can take this off without, you know, this being in the way. Because with the way this one is you kind of have to slide it this way and then it'll come out. So just make sure this flange has enough room and make sure you're not putting this somewhere where, you know, you got to take these bolts out to get it off. So make sure you're not restricting your access to take this off quick if you need to. And I also got this marked out where I want it. I'll get to cutting this out. I'll get this tacked on there, and I'll tack my my turbo flange on there. Then see how that goes. Alright, this is what it looks like when I got that hole cut out. So once this gets tacked on there, I'm gonna try to kind of squeeze it together to get rid of that gap. And I'm probably gonna put some sort of gusset in here so the exhaust gases aren't fighting each other, just so it directs the exhaust flow out of here. Well, turbo's mounted. I gotta clock the turbo, so the outlet for the charged air is over here, and then I'm just gonna run a 90, and then I'm gonna have my blow off valve, and then another 90 right into the throttle body. I'm not gonna be running a intercooler on here because I'm only gonna be running about 7 pounds of boost, but it's mounted on there. All the clearances look good. Just barely squeeze it in there. But there it is. Alright. Well, this is going to conclude part 1 of the Turbo Camaro build. On the next video, we're going to take a look at the downpipe and how we're going to fit it in there. Should be pretty easy. There's a lot of room in there, and I'm thinking about utilizing the original exhaust down by where the Y pipe is. I think I just might cut the one off that's going to the driver's side, so I can just have the downpipe and then it goes right into the original exhaust. And then it'll just bolt up to the flange down there. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to see more shit on this thing. So.